longer is anyone astonished by the magical phenomena and mysterious occurrences that accompany the 8 dates, in particular the equinoxes and solstices. Everyone is now accustomed to such phenomena, and they seldom evoke a great sensation. But that year it was different. That year people had, as usual, celebrated the autumnal equinox with a solemn family meal, during which all the kinds of fruits from that year's harvest had to be arrayed on the table, even if only a little of each. Custom dictated it. Having eaten and given thanks to the goddess Melitele for the harvest, the people retired for the night. And then the nightmare began. Just before midnight, a frightful storm got up, and a hellish gale blew, in which a ghastly howling, screaming and wailing were heard above the rustling of trees being bent almost to the ground, the creaking of rafters and the banging of shutters. The clouds driven across the sky assumed outlandish shapes, among which the most common were silhouettes of galloping horses and unicorns. The gale did not abate for a good hour, and in the sudden silence that followed it, the night came alive with the trilling and whirring of the wings of hundreds of goat-sucker nightjars, those mysterious fowl which, according to folk tales, gather together to sing a demonic death knell over a dying person. This time, the chorus of nightjars was as mighty and loud as if the entire world were about to expire. The nightjars sang their death knell in clamorous voices, while the horizon became shrouded in clouds, quenching the remains of the moonlight. At that moment sounded the howl of the fell banshee, the harbinger of imminent and violent death, and across the black sky galloped the wild hunt, a procession of fiery-eyed phantoms on skeleton horses, their tattered cloaks and standards fluttering behind them. So it was every few years. The wild hunt gathered its harvest, but it had not been this terrible for decades. In Novigrad alone, over 24 people went missing without a trace. After the hunt had galloped by and the clouds had dispersed, people saw the moon, on the wane, as was customary during the equinox. But that night, the moon was the color of blood. Simple folk had many explanations for these equinoctial phenomena, which tended to differ considerably from each other according to the specifics of local demonology. Astrologers, druids, and sorcerers also had their explanations, but they were in the main erroneous and cobbled together haphazardly. Few, very few people were able to connect the phenomena to real facts. On the Isles of Skellige, for example, a few very superstitious people saw in the curious events a harbinger of Teith Direia, the end of the world, preceded by Ragnarok, the last battle between light and darkness. The violent storm which rocked the islands on the night of the autumn equinox was regarded by the superstitious as a wave pushed by the prow of the fearsome Naglfar of Morhuch, a longship with sides built of dead men's fingernails and toenails, bearing an army of spectres and demons of chaos. More enlightened or better informed people, however, linked the turmoil of the heavens with the evil witch Yennefer and her dreadful death. Others yet, who were even better informed, saw in the churned-up sea a sign that someone was dying. Someone in whose veins flowed the blood of the kings of Skellige and Sintra. The world over, the autumn equinox was a night of spectres, nightmares and apparitions, a night of sudden, suffocating awakenings, fraught with menace, among sweat-soaked and rumpled sheets. Neither did the most illustrious escape the apparitions and awakenings. Emperor Emrieva Emrys awoke with a cry in the Golden Towers in Nilfgaard. In the north, in Lan Exeter, King Esterad Tyson leapt from his bed, waking his spouse, Queen Zuleika. In Tretogor, the arch-spy Dijkstra leapt up and reached for his dagger, waking the wife of the state treasurer. In the huge castle of Monte Calvo, the sorceress Philippa Eilhart leapt from damask sheets without waking the Comte de Noailles' wife. The dwarf Jarpen Zigrin in Mahakam, the old witcher Vesemir in the mountain stronghold of Cahir Moren, the bank clerk Fabio Sachs in the city of Gorsvelen, and Jarl Krachan Krate on board the longboat Ringhorn, all awoke more or less abruptly. The sorceress Fringilla Vigo came awake in Beauclair Castle, as did the priestess Siodrifr of the temple of the goddess Freya on the island of Hindirsthal. Daniel Echeverry, Count of Garamond, awoke in the besieged fortress of Maribor, as did Zyvik.